Your mind doesn't need more information, it needs better questions. Let me ask you something right out of the gate. When was the last time you really questioned yourself? Not doubted, not criticized, but stopped and seriously asked, why do I believe what I believe? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people aren't living intentionally. They're recycling secondhand thoughts. We live in a world drowning in information, yet starving for insight. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone's shouting. Everyone wants to be heard. But almost no one stops to ask, is what I'm saying even true? Where did I get this thought? Do I even own my beliefs, or did they come pre-installed like factory software? That's what this video is about. This is your invitation to step off the autopilot, to escape the echo chamber, to stop swallowing noise and start asking better questions. Because your mind doesn't need more facts. It needs deeper frameworks. It needs clearer thinking. It needs you fully awake. Let's get into it. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that information is power. That if we just read one more book, take one more course, watch one more video, then finally we'll feel ready, finally we'll be wise, finally we'll understand. But let me ask you this. How many times have you consumed something that felt profound, only to forget it the next day? How often have you heard a great idea, but did nothing with it? That's the illusion. You don't need more information. You need integration. You need insight. And insight doesn't come from volume. It comes from precision, from asking the right questions. Because if your questions are weak, your mind can't build anything strong. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your consciousness. Lazy questions keep you trapped. Why does this always happen to me? What's wrong with me? How can I make them like me? What's the fastest way to get ahead? These are survival-based questions. They come from fear, from lack, from the wounded ego trying to protect itself. But better questions, liberating questions, come from awareness, from courage, from responsibility. Questions like, what unseen pattern is repeating here? What am I not facing right now? Is this desire truly mine, or is it culturally implanted? What belief do I need to let go of? What am I avoiding by staying busy? These questions break the trance. They expose the hidden drivers of your life, because underneath every emotion, every decision, every repeated frustration is an unanswered question. And if you're not asking it, your subconscious is answering it for you. According to neuroscientists, up to 95% of your behavior is subconscious. That means only about 5% of your daily actions are actually conscious decisions. Everything else, reactions, habits, old programming, scripts. So let me ask you this. Who wrote your script? Was it your parents, your teachers, your culture, the media you consumed when you were too young to filter it? If you've never asked, why do I think this way? Then chances are you're not thinking, you're repeating. And repetition isn't truth, familiarity isn't clarity, louder isn't wiser. This is why people can spend their whole lives chasing goals that don't fulfill them, pursuing validation they don't need, running from pain they don't understand, because they never stop to ask the question that unlocks it all. What story am I still living that no longer serves me? Asking better questions literally changes the brain. The brain has a function called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It acts as a filter, showing you the information you ask for. If your dominant question is, why do I always fail? The RAS will serve you evidence to support that belief. You'll overlook your wins, minimize your strengths, amplify your flaws. But if your dominant question becomes, what's one thing I'm doing right that I can build on today? Your brain will find it, and that becomes your reality. The questions you ask become the lens you see life through. You don't see the world as it is, you see it as you're primed to see it. That's why questioning is a superpower. Most people don't avoid questions because they're lazy. They avoid them because they're afraid of what the answers might demand. If you seriously ask, is this relationship aligned with my values? You might have to leave. If you ask, am I addicted to distraction? You might have to put down the phone. If you ask, what if I'm wrong about everything I believe? You might have to rebuild your identity from scratch. Real questions create real tension, and tension leads to truth. But truth comes with a price. It demands change. And most people would rather be comfortable in illusion than uncomfortable in transformation. But not you. Not if you've made it this far. You're here because you want clarity, not comfort. Truth, not popularity. Growth, not validation. So here's a better question. Am I willing to outgrow who I've been in order to become who I'm called to be? We've become obsessed with collecting facts, but facts don't lead to freedom if you're using them to reinforce faulty frameworks. It's not enough to gather new information. You have to interrogate the structure you're placing that information inside. For example, if your core belief is, I'm not good enough, then every compliment becomes a fluke. Every win becomes luck. Every failure becomes confirmation. Same data, different filter. That's why your questions matter more than your knowledge, because knowledge without wisdom is just noise. It inflates the ego, but wisdom humbles it. The world doesn't need more opinions. It needs more clarity. And clarity begins with courageous questions. Here's a simple habit that can transform your mindset. At the end of each day, ask yourself these 5 questions. 1. What emotion did I feel the most today and why? 2. Where did I react instead of respond? 3. What belief guided my decisions today? Was it empowering or limiting? 4. What am I avoiding that needs my attention? 5. What is one truth I'm ready to face, even if it's uncomfortable? Write these down. Don't just think them. Feel them. Let them sink in. Because transformation isn't about finding all the answers. It's about learning to ask questions that demand you grow. The world doesn't change when you get more information. It changes when you shift your perception. And your perception is shaped by your questions. So I'll ask you one more time because this one matters. What question are you avoiding right now that you already know you need to ask? Maybe it's time to stop looking for new answers and start daring to ask the deeper questions. Because wisdom doesn't live in the noise, it lives in the silence between your thoughts. When you finally become brave enough to listen, if this challenged you, if it made you pause, then do something very few people do. Comment below with the most powerful question you're asking yourself right now. Like this video if it helped shift your perspective. Share it with someone who's stuck in noise but ready for clarity. And subscribe to stay connected, because this is just the beginning. You don't need more content. You need deeper questions. And if you stay curious, you'll stay awake. I'll see you in the next one.